Whether you're writing a film, TV show, video game, or high-class porno, you always need to remember one thing. Your plot can be the dog's bollocks, but if your character has a dumb name, it might just be seen as bollocks. Now, video games are a silly medium, and if you argue against me, here is some footage of a dude shooting lasers out of a unicorn's arsehole, and as such, you're allowed to take a fair few liberties with the naming conventions. Yet sometimes even this goes too far, and we're left baffled at how some of the best characters in gaming have been lumbered with the silliest of names. So come gather round, my sickly looking children, and listen to a man who has a name which screams that their parents panicked and hit the RNG on weirdest and gayest names for a baby, as we explore some dumb for some fun. With this in mind, I'm first name Jules, second name from whatculture.com, and these are the 10 dumbest video game character names of all time. Number 10. Hot COLDMAN. Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker. Getting the tone of Metal Gear right by its fans is a tricky thing. Give us vampires who can walk on water or octopus-armored ex-presidents and we'll say, okay, but a man back from the dead who's been granted the ability to throw fireballs simply because he's that angry, oh no sorry Bob, you get that out of here. Indeed, despite Kojima's last proper Metal Gear having one of the most interesting stories of them all, an AI governing the world's access to nuclear weapons, the Peace Walker project was headed up by one hot COLDMAN, possibly the most brilliantly horrendous character name we've had since Fat Man. But you know what though, he's a Ron Seal villain. He does exactly what he says on the tin. Number 9. Ceaseless Discharge. Dark Souls. Ew, what? That's just f***ing nasty. I mean, as if being a Souls boss wasn't hard enough already, what with the whole being beaten by malnourished hollows with tree trunks, this guy has the pleasure of looking like a living ballsack and has weeping lava sores all over. In short, the big CD is a laughingstock amongst its peers. It's not all his fault though, as the original Japanese name of, and excuse me while I butcher this, Tadari Tsuzukuru Mono, which means the thing that keeps on being sore, isn't much better. Although it's thought that a weird mistranslation of sorts ended up with him becoming the Ceaseless Discharge. Poor guy, best to put him out of his misery. Number 8. Pizza Pasta Punch-Out. There are a few things more 80s video games than the Japanese naming conventions of the time. Case in point, an Italian character, they must be called Pizza Pasta. It's like naming an American Bold Eagle gun lover, or as Nintendo also did, a Russian called Vodka Drunkinsky, which kind of looks like me. Thankfully, none of these names survived past their initial appearances, with some only being seen in the arcade release of Punch-Out, and their moves being incorporated into other various fighters after the fact. Still, you have to love the unabashed cultural insensitivity of the whole thing. Old school Nintendo is just the best / the worst. Number 7. Sheepman, Mega Man 10. To be fair, Capcom have created scores of hilariously stupid Mega Man boss names since day one. I mean, Dustman, Brightman, Chillman. But there's something about Sheepman that's both wonderful and also where they draw the line too, at least for the main series. Now, don't get me wrong, he's a fan favourite and a good boss battle, but he really does represent the shark that this series jumped. It's goofy, and you have to wonder what all the other bosses say about him behind his woolly back. Number 6. Shoot Gunner, Metal Gear. As we mentioned before, Metal Gear is often gifted a little leeway when it comes to odd names because its creator is one piece of guano away from being batshit mental. And it started early on, as the original MSX title had baddies with names such as Dirty Duck, Machine Gun Kid, who was obviously really good with knives, and Bloody Brad. Yet all these pale in the face of this guy, Shoot Gunner. This, believe it or not, shotgun wielding, get it, shoot gunner, shotgunner wielding henchman is pretty much the equivalent of that kid on the playground who insists that you call them a ridiculous nickname like Spider or Cypher or Retro J, you know the ones. It was so silly that it was changed to Shotmaker in later releases, which shows that even the higher-ups recognized how dumb this was. Number 5. Soap McTavish, Call of Duty Modern Warfare. Now, as a man who has played and enjoyed a fair few of the COD games, there was always one thing that irked me. No, not the legion of 12-year-olds who were informing me of all the times my mum should have got an abortion. No, not the often bullshit spamming of weapons and loadouts, but the name of the protagonist, Soap. Soap McTavish. It hardly puts fear into the hearts of enemies now, does it? I get that he's meant to be squeaky clean and that we see him go through absolute hell, but I've been spending some time on the wrestling side of What Culture, and I learned that soaping in the shower is to wash your balls aggressively at another person. And somehow, that changed things. So yeah, great guy, just a shame about the name. Number 4, SCABROUS SCROTUS, Mad Max. And speaking of scrotums, here's SCABROUS SCROTUS, a man who joins the pantheon of weird Mad Max characters and rises to the goddamn top. We've had things like Toast the Knowing, Coma Doof Warrior, and Rictus Erectus, but Scrotus really is the dog's bollocks when it comes to hilarious naming. The game even opens by making him nigh on immortal, surviving getting a chainsaw buried in his skull before you spend hours upon hours building up the strength to tackle him one-on-one. He's certainly as ridiculous as he is threatening, but every time a character has to tell you about the evil Scrotus lording over everyone, it kind of kills the tension somewhat. Number 3, Dr. Eggman, Sonic the Hedgehog. Yo, 90s kids everywhere, say it loud and say it proud. His name is Dr. Robotnik. It feels like you can almost pinpoint the downfall of the legendary Blue Blur to when Sega switched gears and began naming the formerly awesome-sounding Robo-villain to Dr. Eggman. It just doesn't feel right anymore. To this day, there are fans that refuse to call him by his proper name, and it's a shame that they didn't go back to basics for Sonic Mania, but there we go. Great character, dumb name. Number 2, HIGHAROLLA COCKAMAMIE, Metal Gear 2 Snake's Revenge. He's back it again, the lout. Yes, that's right, the third entry on this list to have originated in the Metal Gear franchise. However, this one is slightly different. You see, Hideo Kojima had nothing to do with this game. The title was actually made without his say-so. But I bet he's wishing he did though, because the name of the big bad in this game was HIGHAROLLA COCKAMAMIE. What a name, man. That is outstandingly terrible. It's never actually mentioned in-game, but only on the back of the box and a few promotional bits from newspapers. And there's even more to this story. One of Hideo Kojima's juniors was working on the game and told Hideo of it. His response was to make the official Metal Gear 2, which then led to him making MGS for the PS1 and making history from then on. So we have to give credit where credit's due. Without COCKAMAMIE, we might never have had such a higher rolling franchise. Puns. I've got them. And number 1, the American baseball players fighting baseball. This is why I was put on this earth, to share with you the most stupid and hilarious names ever put into a video game. Now, Fighting Baseball is a title for the Super Famicom, and it's pretty decent for what it was, but when it comes to the names for the American team, I fucking died. Now, there is no way for me to present this other than to read you out the names in full. So sit back and enjoy, you're welcome. SLEVE MCDICHAEL, Willie Dustis, Onsen Sweeney, Jeremy Grid, DARRYL ARCHIDELD, Scott Dork, Anatoly Smorin, Sean Furcoat, Ray McScriff, Dean Wesley, GLENALLEN MIXON, Mike Truck, Mario McRwain, Dwigged Rortrugal, RAUL CHAMGERLAIN, Tim Sandale, Kevin Nogilny, Carl Dandleton, Tony SMEHRIK, Mike Sanandez, Bobson DUGNUTT, and Todd Bonzales. Jesus Christ, I'm done. And that's our list. Got any other terribly hilarious names from video games you'd like to share? Well, let me know about them in the comments section below. And then why not swing by whatculture.com for more news and articles like this every goddamn day. As always, I've been Jules, you've been awesome, and I'll speak to you soon.